We're going to cover a lot of information in this interview with a real estate broker, so let's get into it. Welcome to a new video. We're here at JRC Visa Consultancy and Immigration Services in Cebu City, across from Ayala Mall. He's got 3 offices. He's got one in Manila, one in Cebu City, one in Dumaguete. Very popular with expats anyway. Many of you know I've done interviews here with him before, and other vloggers have. He's not just a visa consultant, he has been in the real estate business, a real estate broker, for over 10 years. And he's been doing a little bit of that as his visa consultancy has been growing and growing over many years. And he wants to start focusing a little more, adding the real estate side more and more. You've already have some properties listed?
Yes.
For rentals and for sale?
Yeah.
And I know you're even working with a couple of my friends right now to sell their houses.
Yeah.
A lot of details, a lot of pitfalls you can fall into with titles, and it's different than your country. So anyway, you want to introduce yourself and into the real estate business?
All right.
Yeah.
Rod, thank you for having me here, and it's good to see you again, my friend. And yeah, we've been doing the visa interviews for a couple of videos already, but however, this time around we're gonna expound a little bit on launching again our real estate consulting services, because these are one of the things that we see right now as something that we can actually help off with our foreign friends coming to the Philippines, especially when they buy properties here, to avoid pitfalls, to avoid problems, and also to avoid unnecessary frustration. So that is what we are gearing towards, and as we talk about it prior to filming this video, it has always been our advocacy to really extend our hand and also help our foreign friends to be on the right track on their living here in the Philippines. Come on, if you're gonna live here peacefully, then that is something that you are expecting to be here, because you come to the Philippines for so many reasons. Probably you found your loved ones, you want to retire here, you want to have a different environment, and mind you, the things here are done differently. And one of the things that I can actually share with you just by recently is I had a trip to Iloilo to check a property in which one of our clients wanted me to check if how's the paperwork ready. So he is buying it in a developer, and one of my objective really is to really see the title at hand. So there's a lot of real estate. Once we say developer here in the Philippines, this is the real estate company that are developing properties, either land, house on lot, or a land, and then condominiums. So that's the word here that might be different from your end. So when we say about developer, these are the real estate companies. So when I actually had sit down to the representative of the company or the agent, I was able to talk with the agent, the management, and the broker itself. So the licensed broker. So normally, the licensed broker is the same, is functioning as the same with an agent. The only difference is they have their license, and they can actually manage under their license several brokers. So that is the setup here in the Philippines. So one of the things that you need to really figure out once you've been transacting or talking to someone online is to really figure out if the legitimacy of that person in terms of representing the company. That's number one. Check the identification or check the credentials, because the agents normally have their accreditation with the Professional Regulations Commission. This is PRC. That's the one regulating all the professionals here in the Philippines, not just licensed brokers, teachers, and other professions. So that's one. So we're able to figure that out, and we're happy that they are legit person. They are not shenanigans. So, and also going after that is to really check what is the status of this particular property. Does it have a title already? Does it have the tax declaration? Because those are actually two basic ownership documents that you should have to be identified as a proper and registered and legal owner of the property, because that will safeguard your interests right now and rights over the property. So having the possession on it is just one piece. The other piece that will complete everything is the title and the tax declaration. That will complete and that will give you a peace of mind of your property ownership here in the Philippines. Like, I think there will be subscribers of yours who are married with a Filipina, they name it with a Filipina, and then the foreigner will be recognized in the title as the spouse of that Filipina on the title. So that is something that you need to take a look at. I know that foreigners cannot own land. That is a fact. But when you buy certain property of for your Filipino spouse, that is something that you need also to take a look at, and that's valid. Wherein the one that I mentioned is the foreigner will be recognized because in the Philippines, the status of the owner should be identified if it's married, widowed, or single. So that is something that you need to take a look at into. And we figure out that the title is being processed yet into a smaller parcels of land, and that's forming part of the due diligence, checking actually on what is happening on the ground, like what is the development ongoing right now, if the subdivision plan is approved, or the license to sell is already there. So those are the basic documents if you're buying it to the developer, because there are two transactions that are commonly happening in the Philippines for a real estate transaction. One is buying it to the developer, and the other one is the brokerage. This is where you buy it from an individual or a company, not a real estate company. So if someone already owned a property, let's just say me, and I wanted to sell my property to Rod, so that will be a brokerage transaction. So one of the things that you're gonna be looking forward right now is also what is the existing classification of the land, because we do have a actual situation right now wherein this particular couple bought agricultural land, and they are intending to use it as a residential property. So it will go to another government office in the Philippines for a clearance before they can move to the titles office. And also going a little bit of the procedure, when you buy a property, you'll be going into 3 major offices. Basically, number 1 will be the tax office or the BIR, the same with the function with the IRS. They're gonna collect the capital gains tax, the documentary stamp tax, the transfer tax. They're gonna collect the capital gains tax and the documentary stamp tax. So this is the first government office that you need to deal with. After you have the clearance and paid the taxes, and you have the e-car or set up, you'll have the certificate from the tax office. You now then proceed to the titles office for the issuance of the new title in your favor as a new buyer. And then right after the titles office, it will now proceed to the third and last part, which is the municipal assessor's office or city assessor's office for you to be issued with a new tax declaration. So basically, there are 2 documents that you should have in your hand: title and the tax declaration. Normally on a brokerage, this is something also that you need to note, that if you're buying a portion, make sure that there is an approved subdivision plan, because without the approved subdivision plan, you might bump a problem later on. And then when you buy a property, let's just say whole or a portion, and when the registered owner is already deceased, make sure to ask the estate tax clearance, because before it will be handed over to the next legal surviving heirs, the spouse, the siblings, they should actually have the estate tax clearance. Also, when you buy condominium unit, make sure to have the management certificate that actually cleared you up that when you buy this property or condo unit, you are still within the threshold of 60/40 rule, because the property management is a Philippine Domestic Corporation, which is the PMO. So they are actually the one managing the building, and the ownership of the foreigner should not go over and above 40%. So that is something. Those details are actually in depth, and you will figure that out once you have actual experience on field right now, especially the challenge right now. I just have a seminar with the our continuing education. We have talked about the AI being our tool to navigate things out. But you know what? AI can only do so much, because AI will be picking up information along the way, and they will organize it for you. Yes, that will be a tool. I recognize that. However, that tool should be supplemented on really what is happening on the ground. Like for example, your TIN verification or your tax ID or tax identification number of the seller should be verified prior the tax office will be processing the certificate. That's the e-car, certificate authorizing registration. So AI might found that out depending on how you prompt it, but it's not the end of the line. You still need to check on the actual process on the ground, and that's very important. And one of the things that most of during our videos, not just mine or Rod's videos, one of the comments that might pop up, okay, I can do that alone. I can do that. Yes, that's true. And the only thing that we are trying to inform you as of the time being, that's the reason why Rod and I agreed to have this video, because we would like to let you realize that things are done differently here. Doing it personally is possible. And the only difference here is your waiting time. So it might take you longer. I don't know how fast it can be done in terms of issuing the new title in the US. I have talked to a meeting with an American earlier today that the sale of the property or the acquisition of the property is just click, 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 click. That's easy. It's the totally different here in the Philippines. So that's why we're extending our hands to really guide on you guys so that you will be properly informed. I mean, it's not just a 1,000 peso or $20 purchase that you can actually, hey, I don't like it, it does not fit for me, I can actually change it right away. Now it's millions of pesos, and it's a substantial amount of money that you have saved and you have worked for on your lifetime. So you don't deserve to be in that situation. As early as now, do the right things, and also we will be here to guide you.
Yeah. And my understanding is, just like in the US, I think, the costs involved, like capital gains, that's all negotiable. Who generally the seller would pay that. Mm-hmm. But sometimes, in fact, I had somebody ask me in the comments that they've seen advertisements where the buyer, the buyer is supposed to.
Yeah.
So what the seller's going in and saying, well, I want this much. Mm-hmm. So anything above that, taxes, everything else, the buyer has to pay that, right? So it's all basically all negotiable.
Yeah. There's actually a certain negotiation about that. It depends on that particular agreement is acceptable for both parties, especially the seller and the buyer. By default, it is the responsibility of the seller to pay the capital gains tax and also the documentary stamp tax. Mm-hmm. That is more likely around 7.5%. And I would like to I would like to expound a little bit of the capital gains tax, because the capital gains tax in the Philippines is based on the figure that is the entire consideration of the property. Like I have came up to a conversation way back that the capital gains in our country is, if you bought it in 20,000 US dollars and I actually sold it for 25, the capital gains tax will be imposed or be a basis for the 5,000, which is, when you analyze it, it's common sense. That's your profit. That's why it's capital gains tax, because you gain something out of the sale. Here in the Philippines, let's just say, for example, let's still use the 20,000 US dollars for the purpose of example. The 20,000 US dollars acquisition cost, and when you sell it at 25, the capital gains will be based on the entire 25,000 US dollars. That is something that you need to be aware of. And also, when the seller is doing the real estate transactions, there's what we call also value-added tax. So on the context, the total transfer cost of the property would be around 10 to 11% without VAT, without VAT. However, there would be a provision right now if the seller is habitually doing real estate transactions, selling like it's an ordinary asset, he's actually doing that for business, then the value added tax will be also added to that cost. So that is something that you need to understand. It is not hard to understand. It is just you will be properly guided on. Like for example, there would be an acquisition of the condo unit. You have the total contract price, you have paid all, and sometimes once you already paid the total contract price, there will be a possibility that the developer have billed you separately for the transfer cost. It will be passed on to you. Now, another cost that will be billed to you is upon turnover. After you accept the unit, there would be a move-in cost or move-in fees. This move-in fees covers fire extinguisher, your electric meter, one-time membership of the condo corporation, so on and so forth. So those are the common items on that move-in fees. Now, it is not hidden fees. It is a cost relatively on your acquisition of the property. However, you just need to run through that properly so that you will have a brief overview of what will be your total acquisition cost. Now, buying it from the individual, number one, always look for the title. Second, tax declaration. And if you're not talking to the owner, always ask for the special power of attorney so that you will not waste your time. I mean, the only thing here in the Philippines is anyone can be an agent. And they can actually represent. Rod is smiling right now. I think he has a personal experience about that, especially family members, close friends. Okay, hey, I know someone interested to have that. I can offer that to you. Like, agents are being regulated in a professional regulations, and it's a government office, and also licensed brokers, appraisers, and also real estate consultants. So once you have that special power of attorney, you can also ask for some valid IDs, because that is where you verify the personality of this person that you're talking to. I mean, the reality here is anyone can represent other people. And we have came across with this. A friend of mine had bought the property or the land, and it turns out that that is not his land. That's someone else's land. So there's a lot of variations, and we don't want you to be there. That's the reason why we are launching again our real estate services, and we'll be closely working with Rod right now so that we can actually guide you properly, and we don't want you to lose your money on that aspect.
Yeah, I've got a friend that he owns a condo in the building I live in, and he wanted to buy another one for his carer to live in. And the first one he was going to buy, turned out there was like 3 family members that had to sign off on it. I think 2 were out of the country.
Sure.
And nobody could agree on,
Yeah.
on if they're going to sell it, how much they're going to sell it for. And so we found another one in the building, and there was some problem with that, you know. So yeah, there's and you especially, and I just a little bit that, you know, I hear from my subscribers and friends. There's so many issues that can come up. I mean, not just here, even in America, with titles. Of course, there you have title insurance and other legal things that help protect you, but. Here, yeah, and I've got another friend, he bought a property, he bought a house up in Talamban, and he said, I didn't do my due diligence, I just agreed, I signed to buy this place, and in the end, everything came out okay. But
he's lucky.
Yeah, but getting to the land thing, if you want to build a house or buy a house, the land, can you tell us a little bit about the lease? You get a 25?
It depends upon your agreement. You can actually do 25 and can be renewable for the next 25 years as well.
Something like that.
Yeah. And one thing that you will actually secure you, or secure the lessee or the one who rented the particular land, is if it permits and the lessor would allow it, you can actually have it annotated in the title, so that you are protected in a way that you have certain rights of that particular land over by virtue of this lease contract. So there are a lot of things moving around, because especially when the registered owner had passed away. That is where really the problem will start to pop up, because the one that you mentioned, if there would be siblings that are legal surviving heirs, are they selling the property? Are they retaining it? Are they, yes, they're bound to respect the contract and the lease contract, for example, but at the end of the day, there should be a provision of the lease contract that will actually safeguard the leasee or the one who rented the property, because that's 25 years. Anything can happen in that 25 years.
Yeah. There's, we looked at, me and my girlfriend looked at some properties a couple of years ago, and the lots, you got a big area. One was in Bahol, I think, and you've got this big area that's, and the question is, I think you kind of alluded to it earlier, if you buy a lot, you don't, how do you know you're actually getting that? What spot you're getting? Because I've heard the story where somebody end up, well, we didn't, they told us we bought a lot that isn't even on the title.
Sure.
They tried to move us to a different spot.
Yeah, and that's very rampant on the areas outside the city proper in the Philippines, because most of the rural or provincial lands are still on tax declaration. So let your subscriber be really be very careful of that, because someone can go to you like, hey, this is my land, this is the specification. They can even bring you a vicinity map or a sketch plan that is being provided by the geodetic engineer. But my next question is it approved? Because that's a different thing. Anyone can actually make a sketch plan or have it surveyed, and the product of that survey is a sketch plan. This is where the boundaries are being identified, if there's already a boundaries being set forth. But the next question would be, and the appropriate one will be, is it already approved?
By the government.
By the government itself, yes.
Yeah, I know some other persons, Filipino actually, that bought some property, and had the surveyors come out, had all the neighbors, had the neighbors show up to view the surveying of her property. Yes. And then afterwards they said, well, no, you're on our property. Your posts are on our property. Right. Yeah, so her answer was, well, you have to have your property surveyed, and if there's a problem, then it has to be, somebody has to figure out where the actual line is.
That's very rampant really in provincial areas. Even my mom's side has been experiencing that. The adjacent lot had made the survey, and it came up to a point that the survey have actually crossed the property line of the properties of my grandma. So that is really, and most of the time it happens when it is on tax declaration. So you really need to safeguard right now. And I'll be confident to say that you don't buy a property once you cannot see a title. And it's not enough for you to see just to see the title, verify it. You can run a checking on it, verification through obtaining a certified true copies, because when you obtain a certified true copies of that, it will list on the title what are the annotations or encumbrances that is limiting or limitations on the property. Let's just say it's been mortgaged. Let's just say there's actually a lease contract on it. There's a pending case on it in court. You can see a lot of things, and that's a real-time and updated data of that particular verification or title verification.
Yeah, we could talk about this probably for 5 hours. I'll have to go get another battery for my camera. But the point is, I've been here 10 years. You've been in the real estate business, broker for 10 years, over 10 years. And the point is, I've just, from my knowledge, I've seen so many people have issues, and there's vloggers that have been putting videos up about the problem they've had buying property, getting a clear title, all that type of thing. So a lot of these guys already have heard those bad stories. The key point here is use somebody like JR that's knowledgeable, that knows what to look for, can help tell you, is this a good deal? Is it a bad deal? And you've told a number of people. I know that you made me aware of it. You've told people, no, this is not. Yeah. And they've already put money down on the property.
Yeah.
And you said, no, this is, there's too many red flags here.
This is not gonna work.
So anyway, the deal is, contact JR. You do online consultations.
Yeah.
You can do that. You can set up appointments. I know you travel a lot. You're flying out 2 or 3 times even in the coming week, different places.
Yeah, it's
But-
for the service of our foreign friends. You know, when I told them, okay, our consultation is limited on our where are we at right now. When you will be engaging with our services, I always make it a point to really check what is happening on the ground, because that is where we see the real situation of the property. Like putting in on my appraisal as an appraiser, put that hat on top with my licensed broker. There are also things that might affect the price or the fair market value of that property. So I'm not really practicing my appraisal license, but if you wanted to have that, I can actually connect you with some appraiser to really have determine the value of your property. That is something, because maybe it is offered to you at a very high price. So that's the context of me acquiring that license, because I can give you an initial rough overview of what will be the value of the property. I know it's subjective, or it can be factual, but we are also trying to check all factors involved, like the topography of the land, the vicinity of the land, if it's actually beside a slum area, river, cemetery. There's a lot of factors that you need to see, because sometimes buyer will actually offer you a price in their favor. So that's a reality. But at the end of the day, if you can actually do a counter offer and you have this report, that is something that you can actually lobby for a counter offer. So there's a lot of things, what you Rod mentioned. We can talk it over the entire afternoon for the 5 hours, even not enough, especially when we're actually dealing with other things. But we just wanted you to be guided here, and yes, you can do it at some extent. And just in case you need one, give us a call and we'll be doing our best to really guide you.
All right, very good. Yeah, I think we covered enough without getting into the deep woods here. So anyway, thanks, JR.
Thank you, Rod. Thank you for inviting us, and we do hope that this actually have value to your subscribers, especially to our foreign friends who we're planning to go to the Philippines from the US, former Filipinos, and or also here already in the Philippines. These are the things that we are actually focusing on right now. Apart from the visa agency of your visas here, that's forming part of your peaceful living in the Philippines. And there's also another sector that we would like to assure you that we'll be guiding you properly, which is your property acquisition or property needs here in the Philippines, especially for the documentation side. That is where I started. So selling is another one, rental is another one. So there's also a lot of things that we can take a look at, and I hope our piece of advice will actually give value and will take a long way for you to be properly guided here in the Philippines.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care, and we'll be seeing you soon.
All right.